Roll call, please.
Chair Lorene,
Here.
Vice Chair Bromfield,
Here.
Board Member Quazzo, Board Member Forbes,
Here.
Board Member Giobi,
Here.
Board Member Mathers,
Here.
Board Member Strom.
Alrighty, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we need to do an oath of office.
Good evening. For the record, Lee Baggett, City Attorney. You raise your right hand. I, Sean Forbes,
I, Sean Forbes,
am qualified under the Constitution,
am qualified under the Constitution,
the laws of Florida, and the Code of Ordinances for the City of Stuart, Florida.
the laws of Florida, and the
Code of Ordinances for the City of Stuart, Florida.
Florida,
To serve as a member of the local planning agency,
to serve as a member of the local planning agency,
and that I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
perform the duties of an advisory board member
perform the duties of an advisory board member
on which I am about to enter, so help me God.
on which I'm about to enter, so help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the agenda for the evening?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. Approval of our last minutes. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
I have a question
Okay,
on the minutes.
sure.
In the minutes, there was a statement that property owners should be included before approval by the city commissioner. So unfortunately, I think that's where we're never notified. Did that take place? That they were polled or notified as to that before it went to the commission? And I'm not even sure it went to the commission yet.
Does anybody know the answer to that question?
Board Member Giobi, what item was that? I don't have the minutes in front of me.
Oh, you have the first page. Oh, that's the minutes right there. I think there was only one item on the agenda.
It was down here,
Yeah.
and that was the next page, I think.
Okay, it was regarding the right-of-way considered minor development and be codified so the property owners will not lose their zoning rights.
Would that be a correction to the minutes, or is it just a question?
No, the question is, was that completed? The
Okay.
minutes, the approval for the item.
We can send an email to the board members tomorrow and verify whether it's been done or not, but from the purposes of the minutes or accuracy, then that's just a question, and staff can get back to you on that answer tomorrow.
Okay, just a question, in future, when there's something like that, which seems to be a second part of what's taking place, can the members be notified, like before a meeting, that this was done, it wasn't done, so that I'm not asking silly
I
questions?
mean, it can be, at some point, it would become onerous to tell you every single thing we do. Most of the time, when someone says that they're gonna be notified, that does take place, and the applicant's responsible for doing it and things like that. So, in the future, I mean, obviously, this is a question of the accuracy of the minutes. I'm not sure what the circumstances were, what there was, we'll have to look into it. But, yes, there can be follow-up that's done on that.
Would it be out of place for me to send an email saying, was
Not at
this
all.
done? Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions on the minutes? Anybody like to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. Okay, do we have any comments from the public on non-agenda items? Okay. Do we have any comments from the board members on non-agenda items? All right. All right, first up, the HCA freestanding emergency room, a major amendment to the PUD and site plan.
Good evening, board members. For the record, my name is Jody Kugler, Director of Development. Tonight, I'll be presenting agenda item number 3 for a major commercial planned unit development amendment and site plan approval for the development of Lot 3 within the Wawa CPUD located at 2551 South Kenner Highway. Staff would like to bring a correction. In your staff report, there was a discrepancy in the total square feet of the building. The total square feet should be 13,126. In accordance with public notice requirements outlined under Section 11.02.05 of the Land Development Code, the applicant mailed 334 letters to adjacent property owners within the 300 feet of the subject parcel, providing details of the requested development and date and time of tonight's meeting. Additionally, a sign was posted on the property on Lot 3 along South Canner Highway with this same information. The property consists of 1.74 acres, and it is currently vacant and situated on the southeast corner of Southeast Monterey Road and South Canner Highway. The subject parcel is designated by a commercial land use. The commercial land use and activities predominantly connected with the sale, rental, and distribution of products or performance of professional and non-professional services, and to allow for retail sales, service establishments, business, professional, and other offices, shopping centers, financial institutions, restaurants, entertainment, hotel, motels, and other temporary lodging. The subject parcel is designated as a commercial planned unit development. A CPUD means an alternative means of development and alternative planning zoning procedures for predominantly commercial purposes in accordance to Section 2.07.00, parens E, and with the planning and development objectives of the cities. The purpose of the planned unit development amendment outlined in Land Development Code, Section 11.01.10, any amendments to a previously adopted planned unit development or zoning ordinance, including conditions, agreements, covenants, maps, and illustration, shall be processed if the amendment is a new rezoning application. The applicant is requesting amendment to the previously approved Wawa Commercial Planned Unit Development Master Plan to develop the freestanding emergency room on Lot 3 and to provide a new reinstated and amended conditions, including a timeable for development. The applicant is requesting for the commercial plan unit development. This was the overall master site plan that was revised. In 2014, the City Commission adopted ordinance number 2297-2014, amending the original commercial plan unit development agreement approved in 2017. The 5.98 acre parcel to include the 1.26 acre site and applying for a CPUD zoning, dividing the 7.24 acre site into 4 lots, and adopting a master plan encompassing the new site to the entire 7.24 acre, and a master plan for Lot 1 consisting of the Wawa gas station and convenience store. In 2015, the City Commission again amended the CPUD ordinance for the development of Lot 4, consisting of a 10,224 square feet medical office building for Water's Edge Dermatology. In 2016, the City Commission amended the CPUD for the development of Lot 2, consisting of a 4,442 square feet for Cover's drive-through and sit-down restaurant, including a timeable requirements for plating. The proposed projects consist of 13,126 total square feet of a freestanding emergency room with 1 ambulance loading zone and 43 parking spaces. The emergency room will provide efficiency, high-quality health care to the residents of Stewart and provide physicians on staff 24 hours, 7 days a week, versus a typical urgent care facility that provides a PA or a nurse practitioner. The emergency room is equipped with the imaging and laboratory resources needed to diagnose and deliver care for severe and life-threatening situations. The emergency will not provide overnight inpatient treatment. Patients can be transported if they require inpatient admission and/or higher level of care. This is the proposed elevations that will enhance the architectural features and complies with the city architectural standards by providing an arcade sculptured artwork, overhangs, display windows, decorative light fixtures, and planters with seating. On November 20, 2023, the applicant provided notifications to 334 property owners located within 300 feet of the property. The city received no response. At this time, staff is recommending this petition complies with the standards of review outlined in Land Development Code, Section 11.01.09, a zoning map change application including a planned unit development, and Land Development Code, Section 11.01.10, planned unit development amendment application, and is found to be consistent with the goals, objectives, and the policies of the City of Stewart Comprehensive Plan. This concludes staff's presentation. I do believe the applicant has a presentation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. My name is Audra Creech. I'm here representing the applicant, 16 Canner LLC. Before I get into my presentation, which I believe Ms. Chairwoman has, I apologize. You're going to have to be my clicker. Thank you so much.
That would be her over there.
Okay, that works. Who says? Okay, we need to clarify that. While they're doing technical, I just want to clarify some things. So the 13,000 and change gross square footage, that includes a canopy that goes around the actual internal structure. So the actual square footage inside is 11,570, but there is a canopy that goes around kind of like a roofing structure that is the 13,000. So while it sounds a little bigger than it actually is, it is internally 11,570 square feet. And that canopy is part of the total 13,000. Okay. Additionally, I just want to clarify one other thing before we begin. So as Ms. Jody Netwick-Klugler said, when you put a CPUD on the property, it does add some zoning restrictions, some zoning things that wouldn't be normally there. So the permitted uses that were listed are for commercial only, and then there are some other things that happen when you add a CPUD, which are not super important now, but just in case it comes up, I wanted you all to be aware. All right, we're going to begin with the actual presentation. Once again, I'm Audra Creech. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, 16 Canner LLC. And we are talking about a request for recommendation of approval of a major amendment to a commercial planned unit development. So just for context, and some of this will be repetitive, I'm so sorry, but of course, we're at the southeast Monterey Road and South Canner Highway. I believe, yes, that's my little green button. This is Wawa, that's Culver's, that's the vacant site that we will be dealing with, Lot 3, that's Water's Edge, and then this is Leisure Village, which is a relatively large residential community that is our only adjacent neighbor. So that's us. Now, just to kind of go towards Ms. Giobbe's question, we have submitted an executed affidavit of notices to all the adjacent property owners within 300 square feet per the city's code. Additionally, we have put a sign up, and we have an affidavit as well from the sign posting company that we have submitted prior to this hearing. So we spoke about Leisure Village, and we realized that they were our adjacent neighbor. So in order to make them as comfortable as possible, we had a neighborhood meeting. And it was in April 2nd, 2023. We had it at the neighborhood clubhouse, and we sent notices out by certified and regular mail to all of the people within Leisure Village. And then we had about 36 residents show up, and they asked all the questions that they were wanting to ask, and we tried to answer them appropriately. Now, we have to get into some of the specifics of land use and zoning here, because the city of Stewart's boundaries in this area are a bit idiosyncratic, just because things were annexed, things were done, and so it's a little hard to just say, oh, it's within this jurisdiction or in that jurisdiction. We have county here jurisdiction, county Leisure Village, county across the street in a lot of Monterey Road, above Monterey Road. Then we have city. We're in the city, this particular site. And then we have, surprisingly, Martin County High School annexed into the city, but still holding a Martin County land use and zoning. We'll get into that a little later. It's just one of the interesting things that happens through time. So surrounding land use, we're going to hit Martin County first. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to make the point that while this is a commercial site, it does make sense given the overall area. So mobile home land use, commercial general is that grayish area. The blue, most appropriately, is the commercial waterfront. We have high density in two separate places, high density residential. We've got it above Southeast Monterey Road, and we have it right next to the particular property involved. Then we have commercial limited, we have medium density residential in the bright red, and we have commercial office residential. That's all Martin County. You'll notice that there's no shading in particular places. Obviously, the no shading is the city. Now, surrounding Martin County zoning. Leisure Village is mobile home park district. The gray is business. The green, and I checked this 3 times because I thought the wording was different, is liberal multifamily. The red is limited business. The light brown above Southeast Monterey Road is mobile home subdivision district. Light green, limited commercial, and red, general commercial. So now we can get to the actual city land use and zoning. The actual site is commercial. The light green above Southeast Monterey Road is public, and the yellowish orange above Monterey Road is multifamily residential. This beigeish color is Martin County High School, but it's annexed into the city of Stuart, and of course still has a Martin County future land use. The current city zoning, our site is a commercial PUD as discussed, business limited, public above Southeast Monterey. That's an RPUD, so a residential planned unit development. Limited business and manufacturing in the purple, and business general in the red. And then, of course, Martin County High School. So why is this important? So to the east and the south, we have city land use and zoning, all of them commercial or a commercial planned unit development. And then in the north and south, we have mostly residential. True, it's in the county, but it's all residential. So what's happening is the commercial, especially where our site would be located, would be serving not only the city, but it would be serving the county as well, and all of the heavy residential that you have around there. So this is going to be a very highly used service just by the fact that people are around this area and living there. Not to mention Leisure Village that has 334 residences. So we asked for a major amendment to a CPUD. That sounds daunting, right? It sounds daunting, but it's really not, and here's why. Throughout the history of the CPUD, they've had amendments to basically develop each lot within the CPUD. So when it first started, I'm going back a little farther than Ms. Kugler did. You know, we got 1997, 5.98 acres were made CPUD. Then in 2014, it was amended to add another 1.26 acres, making it a 7.4 acre CPUD in total, which is a CPUD we see today as far as size. It was divided into 4 lots. There was an adopted master site plan encompassing that entire CPUD. There was a full development plan for Lot 1, as in the Wawa, that was approved at this time. And you'll notice it's an amendment. It's the exact same thing we're asking for here. A parcel development plan for Lot 2, 3, and 4. Now, those of you familiar with the site, there's a road that runs through the entire site. That a parcel development plan would have created that shared infrastructure. It was then amended again, once again, a major amendment to the CPUD. That created the Water's Edge Dermatology on Lot 4. Then in 2016, there was a reconfiguration of Lot 2 and 3 to change the size of both of them. And then there was an approval for a master development plan of Lot 2, which is now the Culvers. And it was replatted because of that reconfiguration of Lot 2 and 3. So what are we asking to put on this Lot 3? We're asking to put a freestanding emergency room. Now, I'm going to ask Corey Lovelace, the CEO of HCA St. Lucie, to come up and tell you what an FSCR is, why it's different than an urgent care, and what it can actually provide. Then I'm going to ask Ross Lucas, who is our engineer, to come up and help with the site plan, the landscape plan, and the drainage plan, and give some features regarding that so that hopefully we can answer your questions regarding drainage and landscaping and all that. Then I will come up, do the final request for your recommendation of approval, and hopefully open the stage for questions. Thank you so much.
All right. Good evening. Thank you all for having me here. I'm the CEO at St. Lucie Hospital. My name is Corey Lovelace. So just to give some background on a freestanding emergency department or emergency room, we actually have multiple on the Treasure Coast. There's actually one or two in Port St. Lucie as well. One in Darwin Square, and then Cleveland Clinic actually has one in St. Lucie West. So fairly common around the area, but just to kind of give an idea on the differences. So some get confused by urgent care. Urgent care is typically open during business hours, sometimes extended maybe till 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Freestanding emergency department is just like an emergency department in a main hospital. It is open 24/7. It is staffed by physicians. Depending on the amount of volume, is sometimes even an additional mid-level will help the physician as well. We have nurses on site, respiratory therapists. We have imaging available, lab available. So again, exactly like a main hospital emergency department, just closer to home in terms of the community where we can offer that emergent care services, again, more closer to home. And then in terms of other things about it, we actually, I've spoken to local fire and EMS. I know they were definitely optimistic about this in terms of drop-off times as compared to main hospitals. And so overall, the concept, I think, should be well received. It's a definitely community benefit in terms of emergency services. Okay, very good. And then it will actually be, we'll have it staffed with about 20 healthcare professionals, so 20 high-paying jobs. So it'll overall, I think, great community benefit in terms of needs, particularly as Martin County and the Treasure Coast have grown. I don't think I missed anything. I guess the only other thing I'd mention, typically freestanding emergency rooms, we actually have the one in St. Lucie. The average there, we'll see physicians from patient's arrival to physician is within 4 minutes, and the average discharge time is 78 minutes, which that's probably most main hospital ERs, about a third the time of those. So again, very efficient, high quality, and we have high patient experience scores at that as well. So it would be similar to that location.
As Audra stated, my name is Ross Lucas. I'm with Fulmer Lucas Engineering. We are the civil engineer for the project. I'm going to do my best to talk a little bit about some disciplines that aren't civil engineering, so bear with me. But first, I just wanted to show you in the packet that was presented earlier, you all saw some elevation views of the building. We felt like a rendering with actually proposed landscaping might give you a little better feel for what this is going to look like. This view is from the main driveway entrance into the site. This is the northwest corner off of Canner Highway. We're reutilizing an existing drop-off, or an existing driveway, rather. So no new access is proposed to the highway. The access that you see connecting in the northwest corner is existing. There is an existing road that bisects the site north to south that will also remain. That will be repaved as part of the project, but the alignment is the same, the connectivity is the same. So just some important features on the site. This is an FSER. It is an emergency medical facility. Visibility is important. The western-facing facade is the main entrance to the facility. That is where the general public will enter the facility. There's a canopy drop-off there as a loading zone. Again, it's important there that you see emergency, you enter. Most patients will enter the FSER in vehicle or on foot. Ambulance drop-offs to an FSER are rare. 85% of any ambulance traffic would be outgoing from the facility. And ambulance traffic in general is very low for these facilities. Across the HCA system, these similar facilities see between just 0.5 to 0.9 ambulance trips per day. So very low. Even at the busiest FSERs, you're looking at maybe 2 to 3 maximum on average. That said, despite the limited ambulance traffic, we do operationally need to separate pedestrian drop-off from ambulance. And so on the north side of the facility, you'll see that there is a concrete area there. That is also a canopy, and that is an entrance dedicated for ambulance entrance and exit there. Just another few features, you'll see circulation provided all the way around the site, a vehicle that's helpful for both fire trucks, service vehicles, as well as the general public can completely go around the side and not find any, awkward turnaround movements. Otherwise, there is pedestrian connectivity. There's an existing sidewalk along Cantor Highway. There is a proposed sidewalk that will connect. That is proposed to be accessible, and so it will meet ADA slope requirements. Accessible parking provided that you see in close proximity to the main entrance. The little square that you see below the main entrance is proposed bicycle parking. There's also a sculpture that you can't see that will be in that general vicinity, as well as a pet/service animal relief area for folks that happen to arrive with animals. This is one important thing that I didn't touch on is that there is a 40-foot buffer between any proposed paving, any proposed site feature, and the property line to the east. That is going to be landscaped. That will also, as we touch on drainage, that will serve a dual purpose of housing drainage as well. Otherwise, I think we've touched on all of the site features. All utilities will be fully screened, and so they're not, won't be any visible utilities from the main road. This is kind of a color view of the landscape plan. Some features there, you'll see that there are canopy and understory trees provided along each boundary of the site. What you might not be able to see is that anywhere there's parking that's outward facing, there is also a dense hedgerow that's intended to screen headlights from adjacent properties. There are a total of 64 trees that are proposed for the site. That's, I feel like, a good number for this size site. 45 of those are canopy, 19 of those are understory trees. 307 shrubs are proposed, as well as a little over 1,300 grasses and ground cover species that are being provided here. Irrigation design is low flow drip irrigation intended to minimize water use. And then there is an emphasis on utilizing native plants as well. That's all, again, just sort of reiterating that. This is the proposed drainage plan. This is a little more, less, maybe less fun to look at here, but the east side is a retention pond. Again, that is the 40-foot buffer. That is Leisure Village to the east. There is an existing wall, and then west on our side of the wall will be a retention pond. Any storm below about a 1 in 5 year occurrence will be completely retained on-site. So a combination of the retention pond, underground piping, the gravel that you see are exfiltration trenches, and those are just intended to discharge stormwater back into the soil versus discharging, surface, through surface means. When you get over 5 years of storm, water would be very slowly released, and when I say very slowly, less than 1 CFS, even in a 100-year, 72-hour storm. In the southwest corner, that is a very low rate, and in all storms, 2-year through 100-year, we are reducing levels below pre-developed rates. So discharge is going to be reduced after the project as what exists today. It just so happens that the discharge today is very low, hence the very low numbers that we have. So we're reducing it below already very low numbers. Water quality will be provided. In essence, because we're discharging back into the soil, that naturally provides water quality in the form of reduction in nitrogen and phosphorus. The volume required is roughly 12,000 cubic feet. We're providing 13,000 or some odd cubic feet. In essence, the first 1.5 inches of water that falls onto the site is completely discharged into the soil. And because of those water quality requirements, it should be noted that there is a net improvement in water quality versus existing conditions because of that. On-site lighting is proposed. There is shielding on all the light fixtures that is intended to avoid light pollution into adjacent properties. On the residential side, there is a requirement that be a maximum of 0.2 foot candles. And that requirement has been met, so very little light into particularly the residential side, but shielding on all sides to prevent that pollution. All light poles are 20 feet or less, so nothing that's going to be really, really tall and visible. But we do need site lighting for obvious reasons. This is a 24-hour facility that needs to maintain customer visibility where they can get safely into and out of the facility.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to jump back in here. We're almost complete. So at this time, because we have now run through quite a few of the details, the City of Stuart Director of Development and the City of Stuart Development Review staff has gone through this particular application, and through the analysis provided in the issued staff report, finds that this application is indeed in compliance with the City of Stuart's applicable code and regulations. Therefore, I would ask on behalf of the applicant, 16 Cantor LLC, that this local planning agency provide a recommendation of approval. We will, of course, be here to answer any questions you may have. Of course, we have engineers and operational people to answer any questions that I can't answer. And HCA does look forward to hopefully serving this community in the future. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you very much. We are going to take comment first. I have Miss Mary Alice Raleigh.
Mary Alice Raleigh. I live on Cantor Highway in Stuart. I live in the De La Bahia development, which is across the street from the site of this proposal. If you look at slide number 2, I think it was that they had of the site location, we are one of those high-density areas. We are not adjacent to their property, but we are across the street from them. We are 303 units, a 55 and older community, with many elderly residents who enjoy peace and quiet. That peaceful atmosphere will be shattered if this emergency clinic is approved, with ambulance sirens going day and night. Now, they mentioned about Culver's. They mentioned about the dermatologist. Those are not open 24/7, 365 days a year. So it's not comparing apples to apples. More importantly, Cantor Highway, where this facility wants to build, is already overcrowded with traffic, which will only get worse once Costco, with its 18-pump gas station, 378 apartments, retail shops and restaurants, opens down the street. Approving this request will only make the traffic more congested. We're not opposed to this emergency clinic. It's the location that is the problem. Also, when traffic on Canner Highway is stopped by the school crossing guards during the school zone times, where are those stopped vehicles supposed to go if an ambulance is trying to get through to the clinic? There won't be anywhere for them to go if an ambulance comes up behind them and everybody is dead stop because the children are crossing the street. Are you as board members ready to face possible litigation if someone dies en route to this emergency clinic because the ambulance could not get through the stopped traffic? They mentioned that there would only be a few ambulance runs. Well, it's an emergency clinic. They're going to have ambulance runs. Think about common sense rather than revenue. Please do not approve this emergency clinic to be built at the requested location. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Robert Salas, say your last name. I'm sorry, I have a hard time reading it.
Bear with me, I've never done this in public. My name's Robert Salustio, I live at
There you go.
2600 South Canner Highway, also in Della Bahia. And they painted an excellent picture, you know? It's a place that it's needed, but it's not needed there. I mean, I come from a career of first responders. The traffic congestion on Canner Highway is just constant. We can't even get out Federal Highway, let alone Monterey and Canner Highway. Nobody's really taking it to the account. If you walk out on that street during the day, whether it's first thing in the morning, around noontime, and then you're talking about when school lets out, all those kids are cutting through Wawa. Remember where you guys first came? I mean, when you were at school, in high school, you ran right to the nearest convenience store. You're talking about a person that's driving an ambulance that's thinking, I got to get to a hospital because they don't have enough facilities, or they can't take care of the person at the place that they're at. They're going to be coming out of that business as fast as they can. Yeah, they're going to be stopping and making sure, but it just takes that one time where you have human error. We're all human. We all make mistakes, not on purpose. And they're going to come out, and hopefully it never happens, but they're going to hit a car, they're going to hit a kid. Nobody's really taking into account. We have Cleveland Clinic right down the street. You know, this place, if it's 3-4 miles away from another place, great, but it's within a mile. You know, they never even came to us with the mailings, with the meetings, anything like that, to go ahead and seek our opinions. You know, if you look at any of the structure medians, from the high school to Monterey, it's all messed up. They've done the best that they can. Our entrance, from what they're telling me before, that I used to be blocked to where we can make the right turn. Now we can't, we have to wait for the traffic, which I get. Canner Highway is getting very, very busy. We cannot keep on coming out of that building like that. And then you have the school guards, everything stopping traffic. It's just not a good fit right there. When are we going to make a decision and say, okay, you know, we want the safety of the kids, we want the safety of the elderly residents in the area? I don't know. Is this a conscionable decision that we can make to go ahead and allow it when you're putting something of that magnitude that's going to create more of a liability where people, I didn't hear anything from HCA to mitigate anything to help assist with this roadways, with the bicycle traffic, with the kids. I'm not talking about us across the street. Yeah, we don't want the noise and everything like that, but let's look at the bigger picture. You know, if they have to, they'll hire a detail officer to go ahead and be at the emergency room if it ever got to that. But are they going to have somebody constantly be at the street to hold out the traffic, to make sure nobody comes out across? We can't even put an emergency light like fire departments have to go ahead and stop the traffic with the push of a button because it's too close to Monterey. It's just not feasible. So what are we really going to do? If somebody, God forbid, gets hurt because of somebody coming out,
Sir, your
how
time.
are we all going to feel?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Mary Ottowalski. Well, I never would have gotten that one correctly, probably.
Hi, I'm Mary Otulakowski. I also live at 2600 Canner Highway. Also, again, great concept, wonderful, wrong place. You guys need to be a little bit farther down, maybe by the fire department. You know, you're done at Station 23, right next to them would be perfect, pristine area. You also forgot to touch base on us across the street. These ambulances, as you touched on, 9 times a day, 7 times, nine a day, 7 days a week, that's 63 times a week. So that's, I'm sorry? Oh, so if that's 63 ambulances a week, going out, turning right, only turning right, and then turning right onto Monterey, how are they getting around? Again, school zones, apartments across the street, noise ordinances, lights, all times and nights. When do you say when? When does it end? And again, it's an emergency room. Great concept, wonderful, fabulous. But again, as Bob was saying, school zones, it's just the wrong place. Wrong place, that's all. Thank you. Thanks for the
Thank you
time.
very much. Thank you. Okay, I think, and then Kathy Hudson, please.
I'm going to pass because they've basically said
Okay.
I'm a resident there as well.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, so do we have any board comments or questions? Yes, Bob.
Pardon me. For the record, Bob Raines with the Gunster Law Firm, also here with Ms. Creech on behalf of the applicant. Could I just respond to a couple of those comments? Would that be appropriate now, or do you want me to wait until after you all? Because there's some clarification, and then I think some
Okay.
comments need to be made. So entirely up to you, but we just want to have an opportunity to respond to some of those.
Okay, why don't you provide, what do you want to provide clarification on?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think there was a misunderstanding, and I can also defer to John Senate, but it's .9 ambulance. Per day versus 9 per day.
0.9?
.9. In other words,
How does that
it's
work?
less, well,
How is there less than one ambulance?
but it averages out.
Statistically,
It's statistically, it averages out to less than one a day.
Okay,
So that's, well, they can snicker behind me, but that's just the fact it is. The other point is, with respect to traffic, if this is one of the lowest traffic impact generators you can have in this location. You know, we didn't make comments when you all were talking, so let us make our, please. So this is one of the most low-impact traffic-wise you can have. You have, right now, as was mentioned, you have a Wawa's, which is 24/7, and is very busy. You have a restaurant with a drive-through. All of these are permitted uses and approved uses. And you have the Water's Edge Dermatology, which is a very busy dermatology, my dermatologist of choice itself. Our traffic impacts with the study was found to be de minimis. You can confirm that with Ms. Netwick. But this is, you could still put, at this site, there could be another restaurant that could be allowed to go in there with a drive-through. So this is actually a low-impact traffic generator. So I think you need to keep in mind, because something is going to happen on this site. And you know, I've been doing this for 26 years, and I always hear we have no problem with the use, it's just the location. Well, it's always the location if it's in your neighborhood. I understand that, and I appreciate it. I'm a Martin County resident. I understand this is not an out-of-state group here. You know, so I understand what the issues are. I hear these stories all the time. You know, I always hear there's going to be deaths at that intersection, and you guys are going to be responsible. This stuff just doesn't come to fruition. Also, again, I mentioned the Wawa's already is 24/7. The Cleveland Clinic is not an emergency room. It's a whole different thing. That's doctor's offices, and those are clinics with appointments. Those are not, it's not an emergency room. I don't believe it's even an urgent. There is an urgent care there, but that's, again, the use we're proposing is different than an urgent care.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When was the traffic data that you did, what year was that done? Because we have had problems in the past that the data that's provided to us, the last time the assessment was done was like 2019. So we are curious if it's current to now.
You need to come up. Should go on record.
So I think it was within a few months of the application, which was 2022. I think the important thing with this is that FSCRs in general are a very, very, when I say very low from an engineering standpoint, trip generator. Less than 15 peak hour trips are generated. So even relative to an urgent care, it's about 1/3 of what an urgent care would produce. It's probably 1/10 or 20th of what a gas station or a restaurant would produce. Just generally, there's just not a lot of traffic with these.
Okay.
And one other question on the traffic.
Yes.
Did you include what Costco impact's going to have on traffic in those numbers?
So I can't speak to that. I don't know the answer to that question. I think the study that was done for this, again, was more of the chip, because this is such a low-level trip generator, there's not even a level of study required to that degree because it is truly de minimis. It's a very, very low trip generator.
Okay, so it's more about how many ambulances or vehicles are going to be coming and going versus the traffic in the current area and the impact of that additional.
That's right. If we were proposing a higher intensity use, then one would have, there's different levels of traffic study that would be needed. And so this is truly the lowest category that you have. And so it is more of just of a letter that just states, this is what we're proposing in terms of trips.
It could be for that, Joe.
Let me just see if there's, so I covered the Keelan Clinic, the location, and the traffic, so I think we covered most of that, but we just wanted to get a couple clarifications in there.
Okay.
Make some points.
Did you guys notify and talk to the Martin County, schools to see if they had any concern about the impact?
No, I don't think we did not speak to anybody in Martin County.
The school system, I meant
Yeah, the school system.
is right there.
Right,
So
yeah.
the ambulance question, and if it
Yeah.
was during that time, ma'am, you have to, if you want to make a comment, you have to actually fill out a formal thing.
Yeah. No,
So
we didn't.
nobody notified?
No.
Okay, all right.
I have a question. Could be for this gentleman.
Okay.
Not sure who. You emphasize that it is such, you emphasize and you keep emphasizing it's such a low point of traffic and whatnot. With the facility that you're about to invest in, my question is, why would you invest in such a facility if you don't plan on having traffic coming in? It's minimal.
Sure. I think versus an urgent care, and you may be able to speak to this from a business better than I can, but it's a different level of service, and so you're taking a smaller number of patients and providing a higher acuity service, in essence, to generate the same amount of revenue. You know what I'm saying? So it's
No, I actually don't know
the
what you're
model.
saying.
The model for an urgent care is to see more patients and provide less. You're not doing the scanning and you're not doing some of those things that will be done here. And so this is just a lower patient volume than those.
Yeah, I
I
can
have a
speak to that
few
little
other
more
Yeah.
detail.
questions about it.
Yeah, he spoke to it pretty well. Typically, an urgent care might see 3 to 4 times the volume of an emergency department, or freestanding emergency department. But again, it's a higher level of service in terms of, like, if a patient comes in that is having an active stroke, we can take care of that patient. An urgent care cannot. Laceration on the arm, our doctors can take care of that patient. An urgent care sometimes can, but typically, sometimes will even send those patients to a freestanding emergency department. So again, higher level of care does cost more, but typically patients will have, if they have a plan, we'll have a deductible. If they don't, we see every patient that comes in our door, whether they can pay or not. We're required by law to do that, so.
Okay.
Yep.
And just a few more questions, or maybe if it
That's
goes on
fine.
to something else. The other thing is that you made a point of .9 emergency ambulances. I don't know that you could quantify an emergency. I mean, emergency, there could be 12 of them in one night. So I understand you're doing an average, but you really can't guarantee to the neighborhood that there would not be 12 ambulances coming through from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock when there's obviously no other urgent care or facility there.
Yeah, feel free. They're using data. We have, I think within our company, about HCA has 185 hospitals and many access points around the country. And so we have a lot of data to pull from in terms of averages, and that's, I'm sure what they were referencing is these around the country, so.
Is it in comparison with the density? This is, Canner and Monterey is already dense. It is already overcrowded. And to be perfectly honest, there's future building that will go on there. So to add to it just doesn't seem logical. Again, I think it's a great idea. Wrong location. Needs to be in a different area.
Okay, my name's John Sennett. work with Savalis, and I'm the design manager for the project. I've been working on it for a year with all these folks. I would share that the number we came up with, and that average, is across the whole system of facilities that we manage and that we run. We're building 20 of these to 25 a year, and they're all in high urban locations. We don't try to put them in rural locations. That doesn't do the community any good. So we have a lot of folks that have that not in my backyard thought. But again, with the data that we've accomplished and discovered and looked at over the years, you know, you're going to see more police and fire trucks going up and down the road than you will ambulances generated from this facility. To answer your question about an emergency, you're right. You can never anticipate an emergency, but you know, that's what makes it an emergency, right? So if one day there happens to be 2 ambulances there, good chance the next day there might not be any. So we look at that average and are confident of that. And you know, should the board want to see some long-term records of it, we can provide that.
And let me just add something, because you make an interesting comment. You know, again, what we're saying, we're not saying we're not going to add to the traffic. I mean, that's obvious. Any development's going to add to the traffic. What we're saying is, compared to what else can be there, because everybody has this concept that things are going to stay as they are, that piece of property is not going to be developed. That piece of property has property rights, and it is going to be developed as part of a CPUD. Something's going to go there. So again, what I'm saying is, you know, you may not like the use, but think about what else could go there. Because if you were talking about, and your concern is traffic, I don't think there's any question that this is a low-impact traffic generator compared to another fast food restaurant with a drive-through, or another medical office that's going to be like in Water's Edge Dermatology or whatnot. So there's going to be something put there. And so when we're talking about traffic, we're talking about traffic in comparison to what others traffic generators can be there. So
I don't disagree that
yeah.
something else may go there, but that is the purpose of this committee and
No,
the commissioners, is
no,
to decide what goes there.
No, 100%, but I'm trying to make the point of, you know, because I think sometimes the neighbors don't think something's going to go there, or they don't believe that that's going to be the appropriate use. And you know, I can tell you story after story of sites where people turned something down and got something that they didn't want. We can go out to Palm City to where the Costco site was originally proposed, and then they ended up with a Wawa's out there, a car wash, a Tractor Supply and whatnot. And there's been a lot of people coming back saying, yeah, we should have probably had the Costco there. So it happens, and I'm just saying, you know, in this grand scheme of things, I think you should take a hard look, especially if traffic is a concern. This may be the best use you can put there.
We have to see a traffic report that says there will not be an impact to traffic.
Chair, okay, I actually,
No, I didn't say there wasn't going to be an impact to traffic. Because
I understand what you're saying.
And as a matter of-
You're saying that something else could go in there that would be a larger traffic generator.
It's a good chance.
Anything that goes in there is going to impact. traffic in one way or
Absolutely,
another.
100%.
Okay, we
Chair,
have a lady who would like to make a comment from the public, Miss Maria Salustio. There you go.
And I just wanted to, I'm also a resident, of course, of De La Bahia. And looking at my phone right now, Cleveland Clinic Martin North Hospital is 0.7 miles. 0.7 miles. It's an emergency room. Again, no reason why to have it across from where it's heavily dense with population, the traffic. When it comes to the kids with Martin County, we live there. We see them go to school, we see them leave. They cut through Water Edge, they cut through Wawa, they cut through all of those areas. Now, you may say we have 0.9 ambulance leaving, and they could be cautious. However, what about the person driving into the clinic or the emergency room? They're not thinking straight. They're rushing in to go see a doctor or whomever is there to help them. They're not thinking. They're putting these kids, they're putting other people who walk along Canner Highway already to get where they have to go. And again, I can't emphasize enough how the traffic at Canner and Monterey is horrid. You have to sit there on a summer day during traffic 2 times before you can get through that light. During wintertime, when we have all the snowbirds come, the time is even longer. I cannot stress how inconvenient it is for us around us and how dangerous. Now, we're talking also of people who, not only the kids across the street who are not paying attention, they're on their phones and such, but you also have the elderly who don't have the reflex to stop or, whatever, the same. Again, yes, there'll be something that will probably go there, another restaurant, maybe more traffic, but it's not going to be 24/7. In other words, 24 hours, 7 days a week, all the time. And I just think that the quality of my life and the people around me is going to be diminished because of this. Thank you.
Chair, I did put the traffic report that was provided in the package up. The report was prepared in October 22.
Okay.
And it shows the chip generation based off a ITE trip generation manual. That is the statistics that most of in our world, that's where they would pull most of those statistics from.
Okay. So that would be per day, it looks like 289, I can't read far.
Right.
289 daily trips? Is that what we're estimating?
Yes, that's what it's showing. But during the peak times, it's showing less than 20 trips.
Okay.
Quick question. How much of that is employee versus patient?
I'm sorry.
Employee versus patient.
I don't know, because based on the ITE, you put in the code for a freestanding emergency room, which is, the use is 650, based off the number of square footage of the actual site, and it gives you the average, and then it gives you the trip generations during the peak hours.
Okay. Do y'all have the data for your actual patient load versus employees on and off?
Well, there's, John Sennett with Surveillance, representing HCA. There are 20 full-time employees, and that shift rotates 3 times a day, most of the time. So that would equate to 60 of those trips being generated by the employees associated.
One way?
One way, correct. So 120
So
total.
the two-way is roughly 120 is employee, right?
Yep.
So the balance is what we're talking about, typical patients coming. Do you know what the peak hour of those patients are, typically by the records?
In my experience, it does vary depending on the emergency department. But we do, even at our main hospital or Darwin Emergency Department, typically you're more in that 4 to 7, but again, it does vary by the day. So it's hard to say, a firm day, because some days, depending on sickness, individuals might come in the morning for whatever reason might be. But that's, in our experience, what we see. So.
All right, so you're looking at the end of the day, 4 to 7? Okay.
Yeah, but again, it does vary by the day. So, I bet sure the data he's looked at would show it also depends on the community, and so it's. I'm just giving you like anecdotal experience. Yeah.
Sure.
And then in terms of traffic count, just one thing I want to mention: most of our employees work 12-hour shifts. So there would be morning and evening shift change. Some do work, depending on the skill set, would work in the mid shift and come in maybe in the mid shift. So it does vary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm Ross Lucas, the civil engineer, so thank you for pulling this up, is what I was actually looking for. I just wanted to give everyone a frame of reference. So the AM and PM peak hours are sort of the gold standard for how you look at traffic impacts. And ITE is a manual that generates these trips. And so ITE is, again, the standard, and it's referenced at the top. But I just I pulled up just some other uses, for comparison's sake. So that 18, that's based on roughly, a little over 1.6 PM trips per 1,000 square feet. So this is an 11,500 square foot facility, that's what you do. So by comparison, where that number is 1.65 for an FSER, a gas station, the same number would be 109.27 for the same square footage. A coffee shop would be 83.33 per 1,000 square feet. So you see the statement at the bottom saying that this is less than 20 trips peak hour, and therefore a study's not required. That's why the study's not, I mean, this is truly a really low use. It's hard to quantify those numbers unless given context of other uses that you're familiar with at a similar square footage. So it really is a very low generator.
Okay, I have a comment. So, two things. I travel on that road very frequently, and during busy time, it already is backed up past Martin with the people who are trying to turn left to go to Palm City. It really is very congested, and though your numbers may indicate that it doesn't warrant a study, from my experience, when I saw the kind of facility, I was like, huh, really? And the next thing I want to point out to you guys, I don't know if you know this, there is a major drainage problem right there. I have had near collision right there. When it rains heavily, exactly in front of the gate of those, the mobile homes, there is, I don't know how deep it is. I drive an SUV. I don't even try to go in there. So there definitely, a study needs to be done there because that water is already taking the length of 3 vehicles right there. You really have to be careful. If you're not paying attention and you just follow the vehicle in front of you, and by the time they swerve out, you could be in it. I don't know how deep it is, but we do really need to get some studies done there. And it really needs to be studied to see the activity and how backed up. Because I think it's only, is it only just 2 lanes? And then when you come almost to the light, then you have the turn lanes, so then you have 3 lanes. I think it's 2 lanes mainly. So it's 3 lanes then. So maybe at the time when I had it, there's been some construction there also, but it really backs you up way back, and then you realize that it's the people trying to turn to go to Palm City that it kind of pushes the traffic back, because then with the narrowness of the street and people want to turn into an urgent care, how does, I think there needs to be a study.
Yeah, I'll note that we did study drainage.
You did.
We touched on that. Now, this is, when studying, we're not looking at off-site existing conditions. And
Right.
so if there is an issue within FDOT's right-of-way, that's just beyond the purview of what we would look at.
But then it's going to affect your business, so you do need, now that I bring it to your attention, because I've been annoyed by it several times.
Sure, and so we will go through a drainage permitting process with FDOT, and I'm happy to bring that to their attention at that point and work with them. I'll note that just the nature of that, there is not a lot of, I don't want to misrepresent this, there's very little drainage leaving that site now, but that will be reduced as part of the project. So it would be, I'm not saying we will solve the problem naturally that way, I'm just saying that if anything, we'll very slightly improve it, but we will bring it up with FDOT as part of that drainage permit, because to your point, that wouldn't be the responsibility of any individual landowner, but FDOT should be aware of that for sure.
But that's going to affect,
Sure,
the
sure.
whole condition and quality.
One more thing on that. So for the drainage, it said in the documentation that it was going to be lid. So is your solution, because you mentioned a couple things. You mentioned the retention pond, right? Which is not really lid, right?
Sure, so the.
I know it meets the standards, right?
Sure.
But it's not really kind of what they're doing today, right? In terms of drainage for a property like that, because it is lower. So I went there and it is noticeably lower in that area than Culver's. Culver's is like up on a hill, right?
Sure.
So how are you going to address that drainage?
Sure, so the finished floor will be similar elevation to the Culvers, and so there's definitely some earthwork that's going to have to
So
be
you're going to raise up that
yes.
lot to be the same elevation as Culver's?
That's correct, that's
Okay.
correct. And then low-impact design, but the premise of it, yes, there are certainly many things that one can do. The premise of it is largely just infiltration-based. You're trying to, instead of pre-LID, you were more interested in sort of treating the runoff that you're going to discharge. LID principles are more, let's get it back into the soil.
Right.
And so we are, those, we're not referencing the plan again, but all of those gravel beds, everything discharges under the pavement,
All right, so
permeates those gravel beds.
everything will stay on the property is what you're saying?
Everything through.
Nothing will go out into a retention pond?
I can't say everything. I can say everything, 99.99.
Hurricane or something like that, I get it.
Just in terms of up to a 5-year storm. So if you had a giant storm greater than, statistically, greater than once every 5 years, more rare than once every 5 years, those are designed to discharge at a very low rate. And then that's designed up through 100-year.
Are you using a specific low-impact design solution? And what is that called?
It's infiltration, it's an infiltration trench.
Infiltration trench, okay. I have some other questions, and I have to apologize, I'm new, so I went through everything and probably have a few more questions than probably normally would have. I should have questions,
Yes.
definitely. So, on page 22, it talks about, under required open space and native preserve area, it says not less than 25% of the CPUD shall be in open spaces defined. What percent are you?
Let me grab my plan real fast.
Okay. And that was a restated condition.
So I don't know if you have access to the plans that were submitted. On sheet L 2.0, those calculations are all provided.
Okay.
So 20%, 100 square feet for each additional parking, let's see, provided 33, required 20, I'm trying to interpret this quickly.
That's why it was difficult for me, because I was trying to figure out less than 25%.
The minimum required is 15,682 square feet plus 500, and provided, this is a great question. One second, please. Go to the civil plan. I will say that all of these things have been vetted, but it's just having a hard time recalling it here. So I think the percentage is, oh, there it is. So open space, 25,132 square feet, and 15,682 square feet is required.
Okay, and then I think these are for you, so, there was, in the documentation, there was a couple things that were left blank. And so on page 25 of 168, it says, at the top, site lighting for lot 3 shall comply with, and then it's blank. So I don't know if that wasn't filled out or copy and paste didn't go through. Page 25 of 168.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm talking about?
So, yeah, I just need to clarify. So, this is the LPA, so it's a recommending body, correct? You
Yeah.
recommend to the board
Correct.
what it is you want approved, or maybe not. So these are the existing conditions of the planned unit development. It will be approved at the city, and the city will be filling in those blanks. So for example, if you go to page 15, you'll notice it says, development documents to be approved for HCA FSER shall be listed here. So there are certain things that we can't approve as a part of the CPUD until the city says we can. So that's why it's blank. It's various things that the city needs to tell us is okay. So for example, that's where we would put all the approved plans. You guys don't approve them because you're a recommending body, but the city commission does. Another thing that would be, let's see another blank.
Do they go to the commission blank?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
And then they fill them in as a part of the final commission process. And then we approve them at the readings of the various, readings of the items at the commission meeting.
Okay.
So basically, as a part of going through the city process, Jody Netwick and her department would help us fill those in based on what they want. So it is a negotiated process to a certain extent to get through that process and get an approval. So we're just leaving that blank because we know we can't make that decision right now.
Got it. That helps.
Yeah.
If I may intervene as well. Also, when this goes to the city commission for the first reading, which is the first process, this will be filled in with the documents, the date and everything. If something changes in between the two, that will be updated
Okay,
as well.
so I'm not missing anything.
No,
Got it.
no,
All
sir.
right. On that same page, it says the developer may grade into, and then 20% is crossed out, and it says 100% of the recreated native vegetation in order to meet stormwater needs for remaining lot 3.
Yes, so
100%, what does it mean? You could
So I do appreciate you going through so closely. Because this is a CPUD that's been amended multiple times, and we're amending again to add this particular lot development, we had to strike out certain things and make very clear what we struck out, and then what hopefully we'll put in. So we had to basically show what changes we were making and put a blank where necessary, where the city had to put in their own information. So this is not an approved document. This is a draft that we are providing to the city to say, okay, you're recommending possibly that it's approved, recommending denial, whatever. And we then go to the city and say, here is our CPUD. We understand that there are things that have been changed. Please let us know if that's okay. And that's where the striking out is happening. As to the particular provision that you're talking about, would you mind reading it to me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the developer may grade into 100% of the recreated native vegetation area in order to meet stormwater needs for remaining lot 3.
Okay, so I am not an engineer, so I'm gonna let Ross take that up.
Thank you.
But Lot 3 does only have so much room, because of course there's Lot 4 and Lot 2. So I'm gonna let Ross finish that particular question.
Great.
Sure, so yes, this lot, because it's so small, it has to be touched. There's just no way that you can't, to grade, there's no way to preserve any piece of it, it's just a small lot. However, because of that, we're exceeding all of the requirements in terms of replanting of native vegetation. So that's part of the focus of using native vegetation around the site as it gets planted.
And
So
is that where you're talking about raising it up? So you're basically just going to raise the whole thing, like raise as in with a Z, and then put in the...
yes, all of it'll be graded, short of the existing wall in the back remains, and that's technically, there is some property behind that in the property line, 5 feet or so. But all of our side of the wall will have to be regraded for this use.
Okay. And just one last comment. and I'm kind of going on, but, so I definitely, like all the thoughts that people raised that spoke today, I thought of myself as well, because my mother-in-law lived at Del Bahia, so I understand that area very well. My son and my daughter both went to Martin County. I've gone there and picked them up before, so I know they walk across that area. So I definitely like you to consider that traffic that happens every single day, not just the kids walking through there, but also the parents that come and pick them up. That's where a lot of that traffic is generated. They wait in Wawa, they wait at Culver's, whatever. So just something to think about. I also look at the other side of this, right? That yes, there's going to be an impact to traffic. Yes, there may be some noise, but I also think that the elderly residents of Del Bahia it could be life-saving to have an emergency room across the street. Because I can tell you, my mother-in-law one time had to go to Cleveland Clinic, and she waited there for a long time, and it took a while to get there. So same thing with the kids, that you have the high school right there, and God forbid there's an emergency or something happens. I also see that as a benefit. But I do understand the residents' concern in that area around the traffic. And honestly, I did like your answer about the fact that it is a lower percentage, than if it was a McDonald's or something like that. But I
Okay.
appreciate the opportunity.
I have a question about hospital. Now, the local HCA in Port St. Lucie, when they have a patient who cannot be treated there or needs further hospitalization, which you don't have, they have, I guess, a contract with Port St. Lucie Hospital to send them there. Would this clinic also be sending people to Port St. Lucie?
So this emergency room is a department of HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital. However, patients still have a choice. If they would want to go to Martin North to be admitted, they could be admitted at Martin North. If they choose to come to HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital, they can be admitted at HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital. So the patient would still have a choice.
Okay, so
Hopefully that answers your
would
question.
you have a contract with Cleveland Clinic North to be able to bring your ambulance to? Because I spoke to the HCA clinic in Port St. Lucie, so it appears that there's a contract with Port St. Lucie to send the patients there if they need hospitalization.
Yeah, so we actually work in our own ambulance company to make sure if they would need hospitalization, but it's not finalized yet. So we work with third-party entities to help transport from, for example, our freestanding ER in Port St. Lucie that do the transports for us. But they could, if the patient stated they want to go to Martin North or Martin South, that we would abide by that and take them to Martin North or South. It probably would be a more efficient in the transfer process to go to HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital in terms of getting them in the hospital timely, but patients still have a choice, and we will make sure of that.
Okay, thank you.
Just as we do at Port St. Lucie, if a patient says, I want to go to Tradition Hospital, they have that choice as well.
Normally with ambulance services, they take you to the closest hospital. At
That is
point,
for
yes.
ambulance, though, versus a third-party entity that does the transport. But you are correct. At times, patients would still have a choice, but normally, you are correct, yes.
And the understanding is there's no overnight, is that correct?
Correct,
So
yes.
that means that anybody who did require hospital care to be monitored overnight would have to be sent to another hospital.
Well, that could happen any time of the day if they needed to be admitted, because we're open 24/7. If a patient came in at 2 a.m., hey, you probably need to be admitted, then they would have the choice, do I want to go to HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital, do I want to go to Martin North? But it would be, dependent, because that could happen at 1 p.m. as well. So it really just depends. But yes, we say it's not an overnight facility because we're not keeping patients there for days at a time. Yeah.
Question. So you're saying when we call 911, right? And we need an ambulance, right?
Yes.
Emergency. Who chooses the location?
So depending on the location, fire rescue does have a choice where they might say, hey, we do need to get you to the closest facility. Sometimes patients do have a choice depending on the condition. Now, what I think to avoid any confusion here, it's more so if a patient needs to be admitted, so they're already at the facility, not arriving to the facility, that's when the patient would have the choice of saying, I want to go to Martin North versus HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital versus actually bringing them to the facility, which would be two different things.
Yeah.
No, my question was specific about admission.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's basically, most you're talking about is transport.
Correct. If the patient did have to be admitted, which again, as referencing earlier, is more of an exception and not a norm.
Yeah. And, so if you're transporting, right?
Yes.
Then the time is maybe of the essence, but it's not. So they
Because
have more
typically, if a
time
patient's
to-
going to be transported, we would stabilize them in the facility and ensure they could be transported in
Right.
stable condition, correct?
Okay, but it's
Yes.
usually not, well, if you get somebody that needs an ambulance, they're going out in an ambulance. Condition versus
Yeah,
transport,
and,
right?
and that again is rare, where sometimes, hey, this patient walked in our facility
Right.
and say they're having a traumatic brain injury, they would actually probably be taken to a trauma center, not, which might even bypass multiple hospitals for that type of situation.
And there's a number of times ambulances are used to transport,
Yes.
but not.
It's
as
an
emergency.
exception, I would say, than a norm, from a freestanding emergency department to a hospital. Yes, it does happen on occasion, but it's more of an exception than a norm.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're not really getting too many ambulances versus them being transports at your decision leaving, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And, there's no restrictions to you using any of the exits or entrances, right?
To my knowledge, no, there's not to my knowledge. I would definitely let them speak to this. Yeah.
So emergencies, they can use off Monterey, off the ones on Canner, because there's nothing limiting you guys to move, right?
There's cross-access. There's cross-access and cross-access easements throughout the entire site. That's why that road is there. It's been there since the very beginning of the CPUD.
I have another comment. So, as I listened to Attorney Raines talked about the fact that property ownership means that something will be there at some point, because the owner of the property is entitled to put something there. And, you know, guys, as I think it through, although it may seem like an unusual kind of a business to be there, but just think of the congestion that we have in downtown, and to try to get over the track, and with everything else that's going on, to have something that's not downtown. I'm just trying to see if I can shine a little light to look onto something else. I mean, I do understand that. I still think that the drainage need to be looked at, because it's going to impact everybody. I know that for a fact. And also, the traffic needs to be analyzed. But when we step back and look long-term, as this downtown gets more and more congested, maybe it's not that bad of an idea to have a great facility that provides these quality of service in that area. Just a thought.
Yeah, and there's the train to think about as well.
Yeah, the train and the
Be
downtown
held behind the
traffic.
train.
And I also want to honor the neighborhood across the street that it wasn't notified. I don't know if they're out of range, but maybe you guys could address why the development across the street wasn't notified. Are they out of range?
Is that
Or is
because
it
they
not?
were county versus
Or,
city?
yeah, is it a county?
She did say she filled that form.
We provided the notices, the 300 surrounding owners. So if they were in 300 feet, you should have got a notice of that based on the radius search that we were given. We did meet specifically with the Leisure Village folks, because they're adjacent to the property and they're the most impacted by the project. You know, we're talking about other developments that, you know, are across the street, 6 lanes, and, you know, there's a gas station over there already and other uses along that way. So, and again, you know, I understand the traffic issues with Canner Highway, but, you know, Canner has been designed to take the more traffic, and that's, you know, why it was 6 lanes. So, and I understand all the concerns, and I do appreciate everybody's concerns. You know, my kids went to Martin County High School too. I put 2 of them through there, and I've got a grandson that's going to probably end up going there too. So, you know, I'm not poo-pooing any of the comments or anything, but I'm just trying to explain, again, you know, what other uses could be there and that this property is going to be developed. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
But the only thing I'd like to say is, this board is merely a recommending board. They have a choice of going to the commission, no matter what our decision is, pro or con. The best use of this board is see if we can make the project better, all right, at this stage. So a lot of your comments and stuff, I'm sure they've heard. Your commission, between now and then, you can talk to them, see if you can't work it out. I tend to be a little bit pro-project on this one, because over the last couple of years, I've had to use ambulances for my wife, okay? Transport ambulances, and at times, it's minutes that they show up, they get her out of there, they take her where she needs to go. So whether it's the right place, I assume that if the client messed up and he can't get out and the traffic's bad, then he's going to have a problem. I believe they've looked at it. Drainage is DOT's problem. Access, I'm sure they got more than 2 entrances. There's at least 3 along Canner. They've got 1 on Monterey. But it's going to be up to the board. So even if we deny them, they have the opportunity to go forward. So
Okay, since you previously had a public comment or wanted to have a public comment that you seated, I'll let you have this, but after this, we already ended public comment. There will be no other public comment, okay? Okay.
My name's Kathy Hudson. I'm a resident of De La Bahia also. I found it interesting that they took the time to meet with the residents in Leisureville back in April. We are a high-density community of approximately the same number of units. We were not contacted. There was no meeting at our clubhouse. And that meeting in Leisureville took place in April, and I think folks start to head back home up north. They only had 43 attendees, so I think that was a very low attendance. I don't know what kind of feedback you get from 43 people when there were 334 residences. So I really feel that we should have been given the same courtesy and had a meeting at De La Bahia. I don't understand why that didn't happen. And I think the biggest unknown is Costco. We have no idea what that is bringing as far as traffic. It's not just a Costco. There are townhomes planned there as well. And everybody coming from Palm City is either coming over the Monterey Bridge or I guess it's the Lincoln Bridge. I'm kind of new up here. And it feeds onto Canner Highway. And they're going to be coming across Canner Highway to go to Costco. The traffic is going to be immense. I know it's a great unknown, but I agree with the comments some of my neighbors have made. Great concept, would be convenient for the elderly, et cetera, but I think it's the wrong location. And I really think that we have to look forward to the Costco. I know it's been postponed, but it's coming. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just make, in response to her comment about our timing for the meeting at Leisure Village, I'm not aware of anybody that's here from Leisure Village. And so I can assure you that it was discussed amongst their folks and stuff. So again, 300 and some homes in there, and I'm not aware of anybody being here from Leisure Village, and I'm not sure that we received any comments from there. So I think all of those folks received notice of the meeting, or pretty close to all of them.
Had you made a decision not to meet with Del Bahia, or had you not thought of it because they were across the street? Just curious.
Yeah, basically, again, you meet with the adjacent neighbors, and that was the thought process, and, that was, and again, they're on the other side of the street.
So it's more the impact, and they are
Yeah,
literally on the other side
absolutely.
of
It
the
was
chain.
who you were impacting on that deal. And there's no real impact from the operation other than, the traffic, sure. Again, nobody's denying that we're going to put some more traffic on the road, but the question is the amount.
But you're willing to meet with them though, right?
We're happy to talk to anybody that wants to meet with us. We'll always, we'll never say no to anybody that wants to talk to them, and I'm happy to give anybody my name and number. Audrey will give them her card, and we're happy to always discuss anything. I've never said no to anybody.
Okay, so would anybody like to make a motion regarding this project?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as presented.
I'll second.
Okay.
Vice Chair Bromfield,
Yes.
Board Member Giobbe,
No.
Board Member Forbes,
Yes.
Chair Lorraine,
Yes.
Board Member Mathers.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have another staff update?
Not at this time, ma'am.
All right, then the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.